Okay, I need to get this out. All of it. Before I completely lose my mind, or what's left of it. Everyone's looking at me like I'm some kind of monster, like I'm the villain in this tragic play. But they don't understand. They don't know what it's like to live a life that's perfectly painted, perfectly arranged, but utterly devastatingly empty inside. My name is Scarlett, and my husband is Michael. We've been married for 10 years, a decade of living in what felt like a beautifully designed prison. Michael is, on paper, the ideal husband. He's a corporate lawyer, highly successful, meticulously organized, and unfailingly reliable. He built us this sprawling, elegant house in the most exclusive part of the city, the kind you see in glossy architectural magazines. He buys me designer clothes, plans our lavish vacations, albeit with a detailed itinerary I rarely deviate from, and ensures every bill is paid, every investment managed. He's the definition of a good husband, the kind every mother tells her daughter to marry, the kind people envy. But good can also mean predictable. So incredibly, soul-crushingly predictable. Our life together had become a monotonous waltz of routines. His early morning gym, his late nights at the office, our quiet dinners where his conversation revolved around mergers, acquisitions, and the endless minutiae of legal briefs. When I tried to inject some spontaneity, some life, suggest a last-minute flight to Paris, or a wild, uninhibited evening out, he'd always have a reason. The client deadline, Scarlett. Or we need to rebalance the portfolio. Or, I'm just so tired, honey, early court appearance tomorrow. Always tired. Always busy. Always prioritizing his structured, controlled world over my vibrant, desperate needs. He saw my desires as frivolous distractions from his grand plan for our secure future. I felt like I was slowly suffocating, a rare exotic bird trapped in a gilded cage. I am a woman who thrives on excitement, on new experiences, on feeling adored, cherished, and desired. Michael's affection had become routine, almost perfunctory. A pat on the head, a polite kiss goodnight. The passion we once had, the undeniable spark that drew us together in those exhilarating early days, had long since been replaced by a comfortable, quiet companionship. And comfortable can be a killer of the soul, especially when you know there's so much more out there. I used to look at him across the dinner table, perfectly composed, impeccably dressed, and feel nothing. Just a vast, aching emptiness. This is where Liam enters the picture. Liam, Michael's best friend since childhood. They went to college together, were roommates, even shared bachelor party horror stories. Liam was a constant, comfortable fixture in our lives. He was the chaotic to Michael's meticulous. A freelance photographer, always traveling, always with a new story, a new adventure. He'd come over for Sunday dinners, for casual poker nights, and always brought a different energy into our perfectly ordered home. He was charming, witty, and his eyes, unlike Michael's, seemed to truly see me. Initially, it was just easy banter. Liam understood my jokes, he laughed at my sarcasm. He challenged my perspectives in a way Michael never dared. Michael would sometimes frown at my more cutting remarks, but Liam would just lean back, a knowing smile playing on his lips, and say, "That's just Scarlett being Scarlett, Michael. You know her." And I'd feel a rush of gratitude for his understanding, for his ability to truly know me, flaws and all. The shift was almost imperceptible at first. A shared glance that lingered a moment too long. A casual touch on my arm that felt strangely electric. Conversations with Liam would stretch late into the night after Michael had retreated to his study with his legal documents. We'd talk about art, about travel, about passions Michael simply couldn't comprehend. Liam didn't just listen. He engaged. He saw the vibrant woman beneath the perfectly composed facade, the woman yearning for more than predictable stability. He saw the flicker of wildness I felt dying inside me. The affair, if you want to call it that, began not with a bang, but with a slow, agonizing crawl towards connection. It started with subtle texts, ostensibly about a book or a movie, that quickly bled into shared frustrations about life, about loneliness. Then came the stolen coffees, the accidental meetings at art galleries Michael would never visit. Each clandestine moment felt like a desperate gasp of air after years underwater. I knew it was wrong in the traditional sense, but what was the alternative? Wither away. Become another resentful society wife, drowning in unfulfilled potential. A silent, bitter ghost in my own beautiful house? I was just trying to survive. To find a lifeline. Michael was so consumed by his work, so emotionally absent, so utterly detached from my needs, that he left a gaping hole in my life. I wasn't creating the problem. He was the problem. He created the void. I was simply reacting to his neglect, to his profound inability to see me as anything more than a beautiful accessory. It was an act of self-preservation, honestly. A desperate reach for the warmth, the passion, the life I deserved. If Michael had been giving me what I needed, if he had nurtured this vibrant part of me, I wouldn't have had to seek it elsewhere. It was his fault, really, for letting me starve. And I was so good at hiding it. Liam and I were meticulous. We had code words for texts, elaborate alibis for our meetings. When I was with him, I felt vibrant, desired, a woman reborn. When I came home to Michael, I would put on my dutiful wife facade, sometimes adding a performative sigh as I walked through the door, clutching my designer handbag. I'd complain about my day, about small inconveniences, about the endless cycle of social events, channeling all my energy into being a long-suffering spouse who was just trying to cope with his perpetual absence. I was convinced he suspected nothing. He was too dense, too absorbed in his legal briefs and his quiet world of numbers and precedents. He was so incredibly trusting, which honestly felt like a weakness. Or perhaps too arrogant to imagine his wife might actually have desires beyond his steady, boring presence. I'd occasionally test the waters just to be sure, to see if a flicker of suspicion, a spark of jealousy existed within him. "You're home late again, Michael. Everything okay at the office? Or are you, entertaining clients a little too enthusiastically?" I'd try to make my voice light, teasing, but with a subtle undertone of accusation, watching his face intently. He'd just sigh, run a hand through his perfectly combed hair, looking genuinely pained. "Scarlett, please. It's the Johnson case. We're on a tight schedule. You know how important this is for my partnership prospects." He'd look genuinely bewildered, almost wounded by my insinuation, and I'd pat myself on the back for my masterful acting, for how completely he bought into my feigned suspicion. He was truly clueless. Utterly, predictably clueless. After about 5 months, the affair with Liam had settled into a comfortable, exhilarating routine. I was seeing him several times a week, sometimes for an afternoon, sometimes for a stolen night. My life had a new vibrancy, a secret spring in my step that even Michael couldn't dampen. My phone was constantly buzzing with Liam's witty texts, planning our next stolen moments, each one a tiny act of rebellion that felt like pure freedom. But it also meant I was pulling back from Michael, unconsciously perhaps, but definitively. I stopped trying to engage him in conversation at dinner. I'd just scroll through social media or pretend to be engrossed in a magazine. I rarely initiated physical intimacy. If he tried, I'd feign a headache or stress, knowing he'd immediately back down, apologetic, his eyes softening with concern. He was so easily deterred. I encouraged him to go out with his friends more often, hoping to create more space, more opportunity for my secret life, for my connection with Liam. "You work so hard, Michael," I'd say, forcing a soft smile. "You deserve a night out with the guys. Go unwind." He'd look genuinely pleased, grateful even. It made me feel a tiny pang of something, not guilt, but perhaps annoyance that he was so easily pleased, so utterly lacking in the fire that Liam brought. He was like a well-trained, loyal dog, happy with a simple pat, completely unaware of the complex emotional landscape he was failing to navigate. The changes in me were evident, though I thought I was disguising them well. My clothes became a little bolder, my makeup a little more dramatic, a touch of rebellion in my everyday. My conversations were sharper, more cynical, especially when discussing relationships and the general dullness of suburban life. My closest friends, Sophia and Diana, began to pick up on it. "You're positively radiating, Scarlett," Sophia said at our last charity luncheon. Her eyes narrowed thoughtfully, a hint of curiosity in her gaze. "What's your secret? New diet? New spiritual guru?" I just smiled mysteriously. "Oh, just focusing on myself. It's amazing what a little self-care can do when you're feeling unappreciated. When your partner's life is just work, work, work." I made sure to emphasize the last part, hinting at Michael's supposed neglect. They seemed to understand, nodding sympathetically. Diana, however, was always a little less naive. She'd look at me sometimes with a strange, unreadable expression, a knowing glint in her eye I couldn't quite decipher. One afternoon when we were having coffee, she sighed. Michael looked a little lost the other day. I saw him at the club and he just seemed so quiet, more than usual. Is everything truly all right, Scarlett? I bristled. Of course. He's just always lost in his own world, Diana. Michael. He's always been a bit of a detached observer. I quickly changed the subject, directing the conversation to her upcoming vacation. I had to be careful. Liam was Michael's best friend. That was the one undeniable complication. We had a strict rule. Never ever mention Michael. Never appear together in public. Not even at casual gatherings with mutual friends. We were shadows moving in a world of light. I was so convinced of my cleverness, my ability to manage this delicate dance. I was a master strategist, far more adept than Michael and his boring legal tactics. Then came the slip-up. A small, seemingly insignificant detail, but it was enough. Liam had just returned from a photography assignment in Patagonia. He was excited, full of stories, and had sent me a breathtaking photo of a glacial lake, with a personal caption about wishing I could share these moments with you, my secret. I had saved it to my private album on our shared cloud storage, thinking it was perfectly safe, hidden among my thousands of vacation photos and blurry selfies. Michael never looked at my photo albums anyway. He was too busy. But I was wrong. I don't know why or how, but he found it. Maybe he was cleaning out old files. Maybe he was looking for a shared document. Maybe Leo Jr. was playing on the tablet and stumbled upon it. I still don't know the precise moment. All I know is that one quiet Tuesday evening, after I'd returned from a particularly invigorating afternoon with Liam, I found Michael sitting in his study. The door was open, which was unusual. He was staring at his laptop, his face utterly devoid of expression. The faint hum of the server from his office seemed unnaturally loud. "Michael," I said, my voice carefully modulated, betraying nothing. "Working late again, darling?" He slowly turned his head. His eyes were not weary, not dull. They were sharp, piercing, and cold. In his hand he held my tablet. On the screen was the photo of the glacial lake. And below it, clearly visible, the caption from Liam. "I found it," he said, his voice a low, steady rumble, completely unlike his usual polite cadence. "All of it." My heart hammered against my ribs, a desperate drum. My meticulously constructed world tilted on its axis. "Found what, Michael? What are you talking about?" I tried to feign confusion, but my voice trembled, a betrayal I couldn't control. He looked at me, a profound, chilling sadness in his eyes that quickly hardened into something I could only describe as absolute finality. Liam's texts, the calls, the stolen afternoons, the lies, the betrayals, the absolute contempt. His gaze didn't waver. And the affair, Scarlett, with my best friend. My mind raced, scrambling for a defense, a justification. It's not what you think, Michael. It was a mistake. A moment of weakness. You were never here. You were always at the office, always too busy for me. You pushed me away. I was just trying to feel alive again. I was lonely." The words tumbled out, desperate, self-righteous, fueled by terror and indignation. Tears welled up immediately, hot and stinging, blurring my vision. This was the ultimate injustice, being caught like this. He slowly stood, his movements deliberate, unhurried. He was no longer the soft-spoken Michael. He was something harder, colder. Lonely Scarlett? I worked myself to the bone, every single day, to build this life for you. This house, this security, every luxury you demanded. I sacrificed my own time, my passions, my energy, because I believed I was providing for your happiness. You called it neglect, called it love. You found excitement with my best friend, while I was trying to be the man you supposedly wanted. You were not weak, you were selfish. You were not lonely, you were ungrateful. He walked towards the sleek new briefcase I hadn't noticed by the door. I've been talking to a lawyer, Scarlett, for weeks. Since I started to notice how you changed, how your disdain for me grew, how you seemed to be glowing for reasons that weren't me. It started with a small, innocuous message I saw on your phone, one I initially dismissed. But then I started observing, and recording, and analyzing, like I do with all complex problems. He opened the briefcase. Inside, neatly stacked, were printouts, transcripts of my phone calls, my texts to Liam, security footage from the house showing me sneaking out, returning late, receipts, dates, times, a meticulously built dossier. "These are the divorce papers, Scarlett," he said, his voice flat, emotionless. "My lawyer advises me that, with this evidence of your infidelity and the emotional distress caused, I will be seeking full ownership of the house, the majority of our shared assets, and limited spousal support. You'll keep your personal belongings, your car, and a small lump sum for a fresh start. And I believe the court will see things entirely my way." My mind reeled. My head spun. Full ownership? The house? My car? You can't be serious. This is my house. I decorated it. I made it a home. You can't just take everything because of one mistake, one little incident. It's not fair. I supported you emotionally. I kept up appearances. I entertained your dull colleagues. He looked at me, a flicker of something cold in his eyes, a glint of the ruthless corporate lawyer he was at work, now turned on me. You supported me emotionally, Scarlett. You ridiculed me behind my back. You humiliated me with your actions. You chose to betray not just our marriage but my friendship with Liam. This isn't about one mistake. This is about a calculated pattern of deceit and contempt that has destroyed something fundamental in me. And I simply will not tolerate it anymore. He walked towards the front door. He had a small overnight bag by the entrance, packed and ready. This wasn't a sudden, angry departure. This was planned, meticulous, just like his legal strategies. "You can't just leave," I screamed after him, scrambling off the couch, utterly terrified, feeling a sudden, raw, animalistic panic. "This isn't fair. This is my life. You're ruining my life. You can't do this to me." He paused, his hand on the doorknob. He turned his head slightly, and his voice was chillingly calm, utterly devoid of warmth or regret. "No, Scarlett. You ruined it. I'm just cleaning up the mess you made." And then he was gone. The click of the door echoed in the silent, too-perfect house, a final, definitive sound sealing my fate. He didn't slam it. He didn't yell. He didn't even look back. He just left, calmly, definitively, leaving me utterly alone amidst the ruins of my self-made kingdom. Now I'm here alone, facing the reality of losing everything. Liam has ghosted me completely. He's probably terrified Michael will destroy his career. My friends Sophia and Diana are too busy to talk, their judgment palpable even through their polite texts. My parents are disappointed and don't understand why I couldn't just be happy with what I had, or control myself. Everyone is blaming me. Me, the one who was just trying to be authentic. The one who was just speaking her mind. The one who was just trying to inject some life into a dead-end marriage. It's not fair. How can one attempt at finding myself one small escape justify all of this? He's acting like I'm the monster, the manipulative one. But I was the one stuck with the emotionally unavailable, dull, predictable man who starved me, and then weaponized my own search for happiness against me. I was the one who deserved more. I was the victim here. And now I'm paying for it. It's truly, utterly unjust. And I'm left to wonder, how did I, Scarlett, the vibrant, authentic woman, end up so utterly alone and wronged?